How one man changed music. Okay, let's find out.
Standing here, chances are you're a big Damon Albarn fan, just like Elton John.
You are, for me, the most interesting British musician.
But even if you've never heard of him, I'm sure you've heard this song.
I'm feeling glad I got sunshine.
And of course, you've heard this one. Blur and Gorillaz, two bands that defined the music of the respective eras. And behind them, there was one man, Damon Albarn. He's one of the greatest creators of all time, and his ideas are now the template for a lot of the biggest artists we have.
The NME Award for Innovation goes to Damon Albarn.
He blended different genres, collaborated with numerous artists. He even created the world's first virtual band, but somehow he always stayed on top.
Blur changed the world, and fucking Gorillaz changed the world, and this man is literally a genius, and that's that.
How has Damon Albarn been able to succeed over and over again?
What's crazy is I don't even know who this nigga is, bruh.
What's his secret?
There never have been that many true visionaries in the music business.
I'm really obsessed with Damon Albarn. I've listened to all his interviews. I've read all these biographies. I've played all the music he's ever created. And I think I might have found his secret. Let me tell you a story.
Britain's most popular pop groups have begun the biggest chart war in 30 years.
August 14th, 1995 marks one of the biggest moments in the UK music scene. At the time, two bands were at the forefront of the new Britpop movement, Oasis and Blur. And on this summer day in 1995, they were about to settle the score. Who was really the number one Britpop band?
Both groups released new singles today and hope to not take that off the top of the charts.
Both bands made a bold move. They were going to release a single on the same day. The idea was simple. There was only room for one single at the top.
There was a similar battle of the bands in the 1960s between the Rolling Stones and the Beatles.
And when the day came, the winner was Blur.
But tonight, as LD9, Blur are top of the pops.
This moment shows just how big Blur was at the time in the UK. Bigger than Oasis. And the leader of the band was Damon Albarn. Both of his parents were artists, so of course they sent young Damon to art school. And together with his art school friends, Damon...
That's such a dope concept of releasing the music on the same day in the spirit of competition. You know who else had done something similar to this at the time? It was none other than Kanye West and 50 Cent. They had done this. They had done the same idea, the battle. What was legendary about that moment between Kanye and 50 when they did release their music at the same time, it was essentially the passing of the torch of the gangster rap era into the more sort of softer backpack era, I guess you could call that, because that was still backpack Kanye. Actually, you know what? That wasn't backpack Kanye. That was Graduation, right? It was Graduation against the 50 Cent album. And I think it might have been Curtis, right? So yeah, it was just the transitional passing of the torch between that sort of gangster rap era into this more sort of like, I guess, experimental hip hop, as we can call it, because Graduation is a bit more of an experimental project.
Assembled Blur. And here's the thing, in most cases, if you want to be successful, you follow the trend. And in the 90s, the trendy music was something called grunge music. Blur had incredibly talented musicians and all tools available to play grunge music. In fact, the record label was pushing them to do exactly that.
They were very eager for us to sort of fit into, the sound of the moment.
But Damon Albarn thought grunge was simply too trendy. He wanted to create something new. So he deliberately set out to make anti-grunge music. So with their second album, Modern Life is Rubbish, they leaned hard into their British identity. He even wanted to call the album Britain versus America.
But it was with the release of their third album, Parklife, that they achieved national fame. The album sold over 5 million copies worldwide, and Britpop was truly born.
In 1994, Parklife was released, and suddenly Blur wasn't just a band, they were a phenomenon.
Because it's time for the best British group, Blur!
Here's the thing.
Look at this man's just walking around wearing just a basic t-shirt. I like that, bro. He says he's put the finger up to the entire institution.
Blur's label thought Parklife would flop. The album was a bold departure from the trends dominating the music scene at the time. But Damon Albarn, he just didn't care. But it wasn't just...
But that's the thing. Why? This is the thing about the major labels and what makes them so stupid is like they think that because first of all, they're all in it for the money. They're all in it for the payola, right? So they assume that, if this band just does what everybody else is doing, then at least we can have a safety net and at least make a little bit of money off of them before we might have to shelve them or kick them out of the door. But when you really look at it, most of the time when you're following the trend of what's happening is now you're on trend. Okay, great. So now what happens when that kind of music or that kind of style is no longer the norm or no longer the trend? Then now you got to switch it up. So instead of having your true artistic identity, you're just following whatever is popular. And I understand it's popular music, pop music, but most of the time, the most successful artists are always the ones that are essentially the counterculture.
Their sound. They even look different. While American grunge bands embraced flannels and long hair, you've seen Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Blur went the completely opposite direction. They adopted a clean, retro British style, making them feel fresh and distinctly anti-grunge.
You don't know what a cliche. You don't know what they'll do next, but you really don't.
By the late 90s, Damon Albarn decided he wanted to create a grunge parody album. So the label freaked the F out. They thought the fans simply wouldn't get it.
Well, Damon had this little song that he had on acoustic guitar. He had demo. It was very slow. It's quite good electric, really, really fast, really, really noisy and horrible. And tell the record label that we want to record it as a single. That'll scare them to death. They'll hate it.
With this album, Blur broke into the US market as well and proved they weren't just a Britpop band, they were a band willing to evolve. And as the world...
That song is Blur? Woo! Oh, man. Yo, this David Albarn man is crazy, bro.
Digging to song 2, Damon Albarn was already working on his next project. While writing his most successful music to date in the late 90s, Damon Albarn lived in London with a cartoonist named Jamie Hewlett.
I watched 3 zombie films in a row the other day.
One day, while watching MTV, Damon Albarn had an epiphany. He felt that the music industry and the media were becoming increasingly superficial. They manufactured pop stars, emphasizing appearance and marketability over creativity and authenticity. This frustration inspired an idea, and that idea turned into Gorillaz.
I've always loved Gorillaz.
His idea.
Gorillaz blurred the lines between reality and fiction. Their animated members participated in interviews, called into late-night shows.
What? I have a phone call? Hello?
Oh, hi. Look, I understand you booked my band Gorillaz for your TV show today, and I need to clear something up.
And also performed live concerts using holograms and creative visuals. And in public, Damon Albarn was simply a representative of Gorillaz in the real world. But behind the scenes, he was the mastermind behind it all.
It was quite a visionary thing, in the sense that I think pop music became more cartoon-like.
It wasn't just a cool concept, it was a statement. And in 1998, this was mind-blowingly ahead of its time.
That is actually so interesting that this idea of him doing this came at that time. Once again, doing the counterculture of everything, or sort of giving his own take and his own spin on the things that are happening at the time.
And the music, well, it's pure genius. Take Clint Eastwood, for example, one of their biggest songs. It became a massive, massive hit. And in making this song, Damon Albarn simply used one of the default demos of this synthesizer to create one of the most iconic tunes of the 2000s.
That's it, that's the preset. It's the Rock 1 preset. But it gets even more... Finally, someone let me out of my cage.
It looks simple. It looks almost like cheating, but no, it's pure creative genius. With Gorillaz, Damon Albarn didn't just want to make a band.
The thing about music, and I think with any art, is that just like Da Vinci said, simplicity is, what did he call that? Divine. He said something. He said, "Don't quote me on that." But he had said something along those lines, that like simplicity is key. The more simple you can make things without it being complicated, the easier people will take to understanding it. So the fact that it's just literally just a button on this sort of synthesizer is absolutely genius. Because it's the idea of like, why sit in the studio for hours trying to conjure up something when you can literally just sit there and then you just press a button and things happen.
And he wanted Gorillaz to be a platform to experiment with music, art, and ideas in a way no one else was doing. That's why Gorillaz were blending rap, electronic elements, reggae, and pop. Sounds that were worlds apart but somehow worked together. The genre-blending style that Gorillaz perfected has since become the blueprint for modern pop music. Like Beyoncé's recent exploration of country, and Post Malone's mix of hip-hop and rock, and Billie Eilish's blend of electronic and alternative pop. Before Damon Albarn and Gorillaz, such cross-genre experimentation in the mainstream was unheard of. Gorillaz was all about collaborations. They had more than 50 different artists participating in making Gorillaz' music. They had De La Soul, Snoop Dogg, Elton John, Mavis Staples, Lou Reed, Bobby Womack.
You know, people like you and John Lennon, you're like, that's where I got that thing from.
Pusha T, Grace Jones, Mos Def, JPEG Mafia, and the list goes on and on. This way, every new album of Gorillaz felt very fresh and unexpected. Just like the Blur days, none of us were able to predict what was to come next.
Damn. Man, this man's ability to stay on his toes and to really push the creativity forward is really outstanding. He just is in his creative bag. Like he's just in his bag. You know what I mean? Like any idea that he has, he's willing to just push it forward and to bring it into reality. I think that's the key takeaway from this whole video, is just someone who's willing to just push the needle forward on anything that they're doing, regardless of what anybody on the outside might think about it. And I think for any artist, I think that should always be the key. That should always be, it's like, if it starts to feel like it's a job, it's time to take a step back from it and to reassess. Because only once you're having fun making the things is that the best place to be creating.
Which was exactly why we were fans in the first place.
Is this a moment of transition as a species? Are we leaving ourselves, or are we in fact getting closer to our true selves? Is the future of man a more sort of one of duality with the digital world, or is this in fact something which is destroying us? Is it making us blind? Is it making us deaf? Is it making us sort of lose our senses?
Throughout his career, Damon Albarn has been incredibly intentional about the message he sends through his music. It's never just about making music that sounds cool. He's always tackled some really important issues.
My interpretation of the island is that it's the collection of all the plastic and stuff.
One of the most conceptually ambitious albums he's ever created is Gorillaz' Plastic Beach. That album tells the story of a fictional island made entirely of consumer waste and plastic. This island, of course, symbolizes a world devastated by environmental destruction, consumerism, and the loss of authenticity. It represents a place where the old natural world has been forgotten and replaced by something artificial.
I try not to be.
Which I would say is essentially the current state of life right now. Like, is it just like, in the sense, everything feels fake right now, bro? You're not going to tell me that things do not feel fake right now. Things feel hella fake. People feel fake. Everything just feels like it's a tad, like there's this sort of removal of people being themselves. I'm finding that the idea of being on social media, trying to, I guess, pump out content to be like everybody else, I think just that idea is so draining, and it's so, what do I call it? What can we call it? So mechanical. Like you feel like you're a cattle trying to keep up with everybody posting content. I gotta post content. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I think in essence, it's like, it's not real anymore. You know what I mean? The era before, like, I'm not trying to like age myself, but I think the era before all this sort of, like in the 2010s when we had phones, right? But we weren't concerned about, using the phones to pump out content. It was more in the sense of a form of pure communication, right? I think we've lost that essence. But I guess that's okay. That's just how the world, it develops and transforms.
Precious. I think that's one of the things that I don't like about the music business is how precious it makes people sometimes.
Okay, so this guy is obviously amazing, super talented, and he's done a lot of things right. But what exactly is Damon Albarn's secret?
I wouldn't say I enjoy making mistakes, but I'm very open-minded to them and recognise the benefit of making mistakes. I still make mistakes.
My take is this: while most artists chase commercial success or cater to whatever record labels demand, Damon has always been different. He wasn't interested in just making hits. He was creating art.
My hands just do it. So I just feel it. I just hear where it should go.
He wanted to provoke, to experiment, to deliver something truly original. And the result, well, we've seen it. It's albums that weren't just successful, but also iconic. So I think combining the ability to stick with what feels right, with an incredible work ethic, openness to experimentation, and a plain refusal to compromise, has allowed him to succeed in whatever he wants.
Let's allow ourselves not to let music industry rules dictate how we should make music. And that's what the Gorillas have done, all right?
But it does take a big set of balls, skills, and a really strong work ethic to make it work.
Shout out to David Alburn, my youths. Yo, thanks for watching the video. If you watched it all the way to the end, I appreciate it. I don't know what to tell you guys. In conclusion, as you've just heard here today, take risks, jump big, no risk, no Rari, as they say. Most creatives are always they're always blocking themselves, they're always stopping themselves from doing the next big thing. And I think for most people, that should never be the case. We shouldn't be out here blocking ourselves from being successful, because at the end of the day, we can achieve anything we want. The only person that can limit you is yourself. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.